How long have you been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
10 years.
Now, what got you into it?
I got in the Marine Corps and I became a line instructor, so that really kind of sparked my interest in martial arts. I went to Okinawa, picked up karate, and did some jiu-jitsu. Did a couple of about 90 days or so in Korea. Did taekwondo with the Korean Marines over there. Got really into martial arts. Started really picking that up, and started shifting, just the master nothing. Kind of started doing fights out in town, and of course from UFC and everything else, the biggest forms of martial arts in there that have been introduced and been dominant is Muay Thai, kickboxing, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Really got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because it's really not a strength game, it's more of a strategy game at that level.
What are the benefits of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as opposed to the other martial arts?
One of the big benefits of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, one is endurance, because if you enter a tournament, you're going to be probably rolling for 30 minutes. It's low impact compared to most of your martial arts, so it really doesn't break you down as much. The whole premise behind Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is use technique, not strength, so you don't have to be the strongest, biggest guy in the world to be successful at Jiu-Jitsu. It was created by a guy that only weighed 150 pounds anyways and had brittle bones, so it's designed around an opponents being off balance, not equal to each other, one little guy versus big guy, where you have to use technique, you can't use strength in the sport. Why
haven't you continued doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu out here in Afghanistan?
I enjoy it. I enjoy rolling Marines. Like I said, it's more of a chess game than anything else. It's a thinking man's sport rather than stand up and bang on each other all day long. That's why I do it. I also like sharing my knowledge with younger Marines and everything else. At the end of the day, if you wind up on the ground in a fight, you want to end that engagement as fast as you can and get back to your feet.
How did the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training every Sunday night kind of get started out here?
I met a civilian analyst out here, in the gym, and he was wearing a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu sweatshirt. So I was like, do you practice? And he does. And we got together and we started teaching classes every Sunday night. And from there, it's kind of grown up a little bit more. Just two big fans of Jiu-Jitsu and the sport. So that's how it kind of got started.
What's the ratio, Marine to civilian?
It's about half and half at this point. We have just as many civilians as we do Marines.
What do you think the Marines are getting out of this?
I think it's they're getting obviously getting better, a little better skill at their ground fighting, a little more strategy, and the biggest component is comradeship amongst Marines and civilians. It's kind of hey, it's not a stranger in the chow hall anymore. It's like, hey, that's Pete over there. What's going on, Pete? I think that's probably the biggest benefit. You get to know other people on this base besides staying in your little unit box.
How do you think that coming out on a Sunday night and doing Jiu-Jitsu benefits the Marines? In a place like this where they would normally be, sitting in the hooch or, just at the office?
It does exactly that. It gets the Marines out of the hooch. It gives them something else to do. Not to mention on Sunday, so it gives them something at the end of the week to look forward to.
What life lessons do you think that the Marines can derive from this martial arts and the discipline and that kind of thing?
Especially Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's not the bigger, stronger man that wins. It's the smarter man on his feet who can think faster, who can react faster, who knows who's playing out their moves ahead of time. It's most demonstrated in that aspect by two guys that really know how to do the sport very well. Their first probably 5 or 6 minutes of them rolling together is utterly boring because they're feeling each other out. They're seeing where they want to go, what they want to do. You learn a lot about other people. I know some of the students already have signature moves they want to go to, a reverse arm bar, a triangle choke, or something like that. So knowing that about a person going into a fight, you already know what they're going to go for, so you already have a strategy going into it. And then the reverse is true too. It exposes there like, okay, this is my strength right here. I want to do a triangle choke. Well, I can't, this guy already knows that, so I have to try something different. So it's constant adaptation.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the Marine Corps, what you're doing out here?
No. I think I think more Marines need to get into martial arts, to get back into sports and stuff like that. As society has evolved, we've become less and less into sports and getting out there and getting in contact with people. It's more about video games or anything else. But in the Marine Corps, it's still a physical Marine Corps. It's still, you have to get out there, you know, it's still people pounding the pavement, on patrol, doing what they need to do, and it's a thinking man's game, and that's the good thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It keeps you thinking, keeps your mind fresh. You know, how would I react in this situation? So you can take that on into the fight.
How long have you been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
I started in 2005, so about 7 years now.
And what drew you initially to the sport?
What drew me to the sport? Well, I've been doing martial arts since I was 7 years old. The majority of which were stand-up arts. I moved to a location where I had personal training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and started playing around with it and absolutely fell in love with it.
Since you've been out here, how did it kind of get started the Sunday night?
Well, I was in the gym working out with the only sweatshirt I had, which was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu sweatshirt, and the camp commandant, Gunny Stewart, came up to me and said that he does that too and wanted to get some classes going. So he actually initiated the classes and got things going. He had more time than I did, at least initially. He was running a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The only time I can get away is on Sundays, so I start running a class on Sundays, and then it just kind of congealed into Sunday classes.
And what is it like to have the civilians grappling with the Marines mixture?
You know, everything's left off the mat. So other than the fact that they're wearing obviously Marine type clothing, really nobody cares. So, I mean, if you get choked out by a Marine, it feels the same as getting choked out by a contractor.
And what have you seen some of the benefits of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Well, I think probably the most well known is just fitness. You know, it's a good core strengthening exercise, very good for functional strength.
Why do you think that the Marines are drawn to this sport?
Well, I think that's obvious. I think any soldier or Marine or airman would be drawn to defending himself. Marines are very physical. You know, they like to stay physically fit and they like personal combat. So it's a pretty good transition from McMap straight over to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Have the civilians and the Marines become closer acquainted, better friends through this? Or?
Oh yeah, I think so. You know, again, with the contractors, I mean, everybody just kind of, you can't avoid being friends. You know, you've got a sweaty, hairy dude climbing all over you. You're going to wind up friends.
What do you think is the benefit of having Marines and civilians interacting on more than just a work-based level?
Well, you know, often the civilians are going to have to coordinate with the Marines during their daily duties, and the Marines will have to converse with those contractors as well. So I think it might break down some barriers between the two. And you know, it's always helpful when you walk into an office that you're unfamiliar with and you see some guy you've been rolling with on the mat. You know, it's an instant connection and kind of opens things up and makes it easier to communicate.
No, just what is a normal schedule like on a Sunday night?
Well, you know, it started out as just being an hour from 5 to 6, but I learned very quickly that an hour was not enough, and when I started packing things up at 6 o'clock, guys still wanted to play. So it's grown to be, it usually runs about 2 hours now. You know, I'll teach a few techniques, maybe run over some old ones that I see some problems with, or some mistakes happening more frequently during randori. Randori being open sparring, and then once we're done going over the new techniques, then we go straight to randori and start practicing on each other.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that I guess someone who had no experience with it would need to know?
If you don't have any experience, but it's something you're interested in, just come on out. I mean, lots of different instructional techniques. My personal technique is I don't throw anybody on the mat and start rolling them against their will. They'll let me know when they're ready to do that. So I don't push anybody into doing something they don't want to do. If they're there because they want to be, then great.